then I'd take a piece of newspaper and wad it up for a good wad, and I'd put the slug in there made out of the conduit, and usually another piece of newspaper, because if we pointed down it might slide out, so it never did. And then we had a toothpick and I'd stick a hole in a little flash hole in the top of the barrel, stick that through there, so I'd stick a hole through the paper towel that was holding the gunpowder. And then I'd stick a fuse in there and we'd light it. And you better stand back, because that thing would go boom, and it would make a big cloud of smoke about as far as the laundry room, and the gun would come up off the ground and roll back about 3 feet on the wheels. And the second year I had a better idea, because in the wintertime you have a lot of snow. And a lot of people put chains on their tires called snow chains. Okay, and they've got these little chains that go around your tire, and then on each side there's a chain that connects them all together, so they could roll around the axle, and these cross links on the tires is what gives you traction on the ice so you don't slide all over the place. But those chains wear out pretty fast. And a lot of cars drive around and those chains fly off, and you walk down the street sometimes in the wintertime and you can just pick up pieces of chain this long, sometimes this long. And I was always on the lookout for those, and I kept a bucket in the back of my pickup truck. When I'd see one, I'd pick it up and throw it in that bucket. So come 4th of July, I would have a bucket load of short lengths of chain. And so what we started doing was double charging that cannon. We put 2 packets of 700 grains with 1,400 grains of black powder. And then we'd stuff a bunch of chain down in the barrel. Okay. So the next year, we went down to the beach, and they were a little different place. And they had put up targets on the beach, and each target was about a half a sheet of plywood. And they stapled a paper target on there with a red bullseye. And the target was about, I don't know, 75 feet away. And so there was all the other guys with their little toy guns, and they're trying to look down the barrel and aim them and get them all set up. And they'd fire them and they'd go pow like that. They're trying to shoot that
like a rifle
on the target.
Like a rifle? The POW?
Well, it's smoothbore, it's not a rifle.
I know, but was the POW like one of a rifle?
Yeah, more like a big pistol.
Mm.
And so I got my cannon set up, which was the biggest one there.
Of course.
And we stuffed it full of a bunch of chain and double charged it. We filled that thing up pretty good.
I would have.
Had a leveling screw that you could turn, and that would turn the barrel up or down.
Can you do this?
And we got it all, eyeballed up and leveled and everything and just right. And we touched that thing off, and it went, whoa! I mean, you could hear it all the way across town. And all that chain, which is called grape, well, it's not grape, they use chain and grape. And that target, which was a half a sheet of plywood, it just blew a hole out of the middle of it about that big. It just blew a hole out of the middle. And so the red dot in the target was just totally gone. The whole target was gone. Half the sheet of plywood was gone.
So it was like this, and it was like, nope.
Well, it's just like, well, look at that brick around the fireplace. What if that was all solid brick? And there was no fireplace in there, And when I shot it, it made a hole as big as that fireplace. So let me tell you something. Had you been down there standing in front of it, they would have been picking up pieces of you about this big. That's how nasty that thing could be. So anyway, we're looking out over the bay, and across the bay about, I don't know, maybe a mile and a half, 2 miles, was the shore on the other side. And it was just forest going up the mountainside. And that particular 4th of July was a beautiful blue day. And there was no wind and there was no waves. And the water out there was just as slick as a mirror.
Was it little? Not for long.
Well, we thought, let's put one of those lead balls in there, because when you shoot that lead ball, it's massive, it's heavy, and when it gets going, it keeps going. And we knew that if we shot it out over that bay, way out there, you'd see it go in the water. You'd see it splash. Because that was a big enough ball. When it hit the water, it's going to make a splash about 10 feet tall, you see. And so we cranked up the elevation and double charged it and got everything all set up. Touched that thing off. And everybody's all lined up, maybe 50, 75 people. A lot of them have binoculars and they're all looking and, you know, get their caps on and they're shading their eyes from the sun, or because we wanted to see how far that thing would shoot. Okay? Because we'd be able to see when it hit the water out there.
Did you have binoculars?
No, I was working with the cannon. And so we got it all set up and touched it off, and it just roared. 1,400 grains of black powder. We were using, what do they call that stuff?
Pyrite? No.
It's,
Smokeless powder, yeah.
Pyrodex.
Yeah.
And what Pyrodex does, it works just like black powder, but it doesn't leave a lot of crud in the barrel. Because black powder will really crud up your barrel, and you got to wash it constantly. So anyway, we shot it out over the water there, and we watched and watched, and it never hit the water.
It went across.
It went all the way into the forest and the trees on the other side, about 2.5 miles away. I wouldn't have thought I would shoot that far. You see how they can sink ships with things like that.
Yes. Yeah.
Particularly when they had bigger cannons that shot cannonballs that big.
Oof. It crashed in.
Yeah. Anyway, we had a lot of fun. And but later I decided that was just too much of a toy. I didn't use it very much. And I had a brother-in-law then that knew a family down in Texas that were very, very wealthy people.
I want to see your cannon.
They were looking for something to buy a birthday present for their mother. And I was talking to my brother-in-law about it one day, and he said that might be the perfect present. And so he talked to them, and they agreed to buy it, and I crated it up and shipped it down to Texas, and never heard any more about it. But I did hear back from my brother-in-law that they found that they could buy cue balls for shooting pool, and those cue balls fit that board just perfectly. And they were shooting them out over the ranch, and they'd get on horses and ride around way out there, and they never found the cue ball. They're just gone.
Probably pulverized.
Huh?
Probably got pulverized.
Or exploded? Or is that the same thing?
Well, no, you can see it. You can see it leave the barrel.
Or crashed in the
If it's just falling in the dirt.
I think it
crashed in.
Did they see any gopher holes?
Thank you, Grumps, for that story. Thank you for that story.